Good evening and welcome to Mansfield Shire Council meeting on Tuesday, the 1st of September 2020. Before we commence today's virtual council meeting, I wish to note that this meeting is being conducted online in accordance with the provisions of the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures Act 2020, which was passed on the 23rd of April by the Victorian Parliament. This new Act introduced provisions into the new Local Government Act 2020 to allow for virtual council meetings, such as this one, to take place from the 1st of May until the 1st of November 2020. I also remind everyone that local government decision-making, unlike state and federal government, does not afford the benefit of parliamentary privilege, and hence no protection is afforded to councillors and council officers for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be as slanderous. As with our previous online meetings, in order to be recorded as present at the meeting, each councillor must confirm they can hear proceedings, they can see the other councillors in attendance and be seen by other members, and they can be heard to speak. When we move to present and apologies, I will ask all councillors to confirm this. It is also a requirement that all virtual meetings of council are made accessible to the public by being streamed live via the council's website. We are also broadcasting through Mansfield Radio this evening. Please note that closed sections of council meetings to consider confidential items are not required to be live streamed nor recorded electronically. A quorum of a meeting of our council is that 3 councillors are present. If for some reason the quorum requirement is breached during the meeting by councillors dropping out of the meeting for some reason, we will adjourn the meeting and try to restore those connections. Finally, please note that should we encounter significant technical difficulties that do not allow today's meeting to continue at all, the meeting will be adjourned and those items on the agenda that have not been considered will be deferred for consideration by council at a later date. We continue to thank you for your patience and support. The first item is the councillors present. Could I please ask councillors to confirm verbally that they can see all councillors and hear the proceedings? Councillor Sladden?
I can hear all proceedings and I can see all councillors and council officers.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Volkring?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I can hear and see all councillors, council officers, and also hear the proceedings. Thank you.
Councillor Westendorp?
Madam Mayor, I can hear the proceedings and I can see all councillors and council officers.
Thank you. Could I ask you to raise your hand that you can hear each statement of the councillors? Madam CEO, have we got any apologies this evening, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Olver is an apology for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. I will read the statement of commitment. I will then ask each councillor to confirm their allegiance to the commitment. As councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Mansfield Shire Councillor Code of Conduct and Councillor Charter. We will, at all times, faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by the community. Councillor Sladden?
I confirm my commitment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Volkring?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I confirm my commitment.
Thank you. Councillor Westendorp?
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Volkring, would you mind reciting the Acknowledgement of Country, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, our meeting is being held on the lands of the Taungurung people, and we wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. We would also like to pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the disclosure of conflicts of interest. I will ask each councillor in turn to declare whether they have any conflicts of interest in relation to the items on the agenda tonight. Councillor Sladden.
I have no conflicts of interest in relation to the agenda items.
Thank you. Councillor Volkering.
Madam Mayor, I have no conflict of interest in regard to the night's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Westendorf.
Madam Mayor, I have no conflict of interest with the agenda tonight.
Thank you. And as chair of the meeting and councillor, I have no conflicts of interest myself. We move on to 7, presentation of reports. 7.1, naming a feature, sporting precinct. This is being led by Mrs. Kinnersley, our Manager of Business and Performance. Councillors, you have a report for you there. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Sladden? Could you? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have an alternate motion to the one that is presented in the agenda. And that is the council, in acknowledging the recent and tragic passing of a long-term and well-respected resident, Alex Chumpy Pullen, contact his family to discuss whether they would like council to recognise his outstanding sporting achievements and contribution to our community by naming our new dual court stadium and additional playing fields after him, and to continue to follow through with the council resolution made on the 18th of August 2020 and issue revised naming options to the community for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Sladden. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Volkering. Do I have anyone opposing the motion? Councillor Sladden, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In moving this recommendation or this motion, firstly, I would like to acknowledge the process that has transpired to date. That is to thank all those committee members who suggested names, and it was quite an extensive list, and for everybody who voted for the names that were available at the time. However, given that the current council plan dedicates 2 or 3 pages to the champions of Mansfield, ranging from Catherine Skinner to Max Frick, and one of those included in that was indeed Alex Chumpy Pullen. And I just believe that we respectfully ask his family if they wouldn't mind if we do bestow this honour upon Chumpy, which would be a fitting, in my mind, would be a fitting naming of our new significant piece of sporting infrastructure.
Thank you. Councillor Volkering, would you like to speak as seconder for this motion, please?
More than happy to second the motion, Madam Mayor, and acknowledge Councillor Sladden's comments, and also just to acknowledge the work that's already gone into this naming of the new sporting precinct. So I think Councillor Sladden summed it up adequately.
Thank you very much. Those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. We move to 7.2, Mansfield Shire Council Expense Policy 2020, and the Manager for Business and Performance, Mrs. Kinnersley, is leading that as well. Councillors, we have a recommendation on page 9. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Westendorf, seconder.
Madam Mayor,
Sorry, Councillor Westendorf.
Madam Mayor, I move that Council adopts the Mansfield Shire Council Expenses Policy 2020.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Volkering. Anyone opposed? Councillor Westendorf, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, this is one of the, I think the due diligence and compliance requirements that we need to have in place. We need to demonstrate transparency, and we need to demonstrate that the community can respect and trust our handling of their finances also with regard to our expenses. So, and not the least of which is that we need to do these things so that we are compliant with the Local Government Act as it stands now.
Thank you. Councillor Volkering, would you like to speak as seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, once again, I think Councillor Westendorp summed it up adequately. There's no need for me to provide any further comment.
Thank you. Those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Thank you. We move to 7.3, which is the Mansfield Shire Council Public Transparency Policy 2020 under Manager Business and Performance, Mrs. Kinnersley. So we have a recommendation on page 12. Do I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Sladden, a seconder? Councillor Westendorp. Councillor Sladden, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Similarly to the previous item on the agenda, this is again one of those statutory requirements under the new Local Government Act, and which must be adopted on or before today's date. And what it does do is it does outline the public transparency principles, which are a feature of the Act. And if anybody's interested, it's section 58 to go and have a look at. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sladden. Councillor Westendorp, would you like to speak as seconder?
No, I think Councillor Sladden's already said everything.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. We move to 7.4, Mansfield Shire Council Governance Rule 2020, which is just as mentioned, the compliance with the new Local Government Act 2020 under Management, Business and Performance, Mrs. Kinnersley. So we move to a recommendation on page 17. Do I have a mover of motion, please? Councillor Volkering, seconder. Councillor Sladden, anyone opposed? Councillor Volkering, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I think in the previous two items on the agenda, part of the new Local Government Act, and I think there's no need for me to really go into too much more detail than what's already within the agenda. So I'm happy to read the recommendation if you'd like.
Yes, please, if you would read it for us.
That Council 1 repeals the Local Law Number 2 Meeting Procedures and Common Seal 2016, and 2 adopts the Mansfield Shire Governance Rules 2020 referenced as attachment 1 to this report, 3 thanks the submitter for their participation in the governance rules development process and advise them in writing of the outcome of their submission. And 4, places a copy of the adopted governance rules on Council's website.
Thank you. Councillor Sladden, would you like to speak as seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to acknowledge that these policies were put out to the public for engagement and for comment. And I would like to thank the one person who did comment on this policy. That person raised some very good points, and as per her submission, some of that has been taken on board, and I thank her for those comments. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we have the motion. Could I have those in favour, please? And that motion is also carried. That is the extent of our meeting this evening. I'd just like to follow on from councillors' comments and acknowledge the staff that have worked tirelessly to meet this deadline in part of the implementation of this new Local Government Act. So we thank our staff for that. And in so doing, I will close the meeting. Thank you for your attendance, especially those online or at the radio. So thank you.